Hello class, Mr. Guarino here. In this video I'm going to illustrate a little bit of an introduction to Photoshop and then how to combine two photos together. So first thing I want you to do before you get started with anything we do with our Adobe suite is make sure you have your Google Drive desktop app properly working. So that should be down here in your tray at the taskbar. You should have Google Drive. That's what it looks like, the desktop app. If it's not there, you need to start it up. It's supposed to start up automatically when you start the computer. But if it's not there, go down to G of all your programs, click on Google Drive. Mine says new. Sometimes when it says new, it means it's been updated, and that's why it might not start up, because when it updates, you might have gotten signed out or, whatever. So if you don't have the icon in the bottom tray, then just click this. It should open up and put it in the bottom tray. Sometimes you have the bottom tray, the icon in the bottom tray, and it's kind of grayed out, which means it's running, but you're not signed in. So just click it, go to your account, sign in, and then you'll be good. It takes a couple seconds for it to sign in and sync up and reload, and then it'll be down there and it won't be grayed out. Notice I have two accounts because I have my teacher account and I also have my fictitious student account, which I'm going to be playing around with now so I can illustrate how things work for you guys as students. Okay, so once we verified that, the next thing we want to verify is that our Adobe Creative Cloud apps are all up to date. So I'm going to click the Windows Start button. You will see installed Adobe programs here right at the top because it starts with A. We're always going to go to Creative Cloud. So the Creative Cloud desktop app opens up. And if anything here needs to be updated, in fact, sometimes the desktop app itself might need to be updated. It'll come up when you first start and say, oh, Creative Cloud needs to be updated. It'll update this app. It says it'll restart after it updates. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if it doesn't, then just start it up again. If you see any of the individual apps need to be updated, update them, because if you try and run one while it's updating, it really kind of doesn't work so well. So we're going to be using Photoshop. So I'm going to click Open. And it opens to whatever screen. I mean, there's a few different screens here. Mine opened to the Learn one, which is good because I did want to point out that these tutorials are actually very good. So if you want to learn Photoshop, you can watch these. I'll be explaining what to do in ours, but these are really good. I watched this one myself because I wanted to see what it was showing there. Okay, but Photoshop's open now, so now we have to go to our Google Classroom and get the file that I'm going to give you. Now, going to give you because I haven't posted it in our classroom yet. In our class, I posted it in my test class, which I made here, but right now this is me. And I want to be my fictitious student. So if I click on test class and I go to classwork, here's this assignment in the test class. So I'm going to make a similar assignment in our real class. I just did this so I can make the video over the weekend and not have already posted the assignment. So if you click on view assignment, either way, the only thing that you really have there is this photo I'm giving you. I might put some instructions as well. So you click that, it opens here. You get this, it's a Photoshop file. So you really can't, at this point, open it live on the web. They're actually working on that. And there's also a way with Adobe Cloud Storage to get this all to work without having to do what I'm about to show you with this zip extractor. But we're not there yet. So right now we got this, I guess, free app with our school district called Open with Zip Extractor. So I guess you could just click that. I click the drop down just because I'm always curious to see what else is there, and then click Zip Extractor. You might have to allow it with your account to work with your Google Drive files, so please do. This is for creating a zip file. Here's the file that you want to use, so you click on that. And then you get these two options, download or open in Drive. You would think open in Drive would would work and be good, but it actually just opens it the way it just was because it really can't let you work on a Photoshop file in Google Drive through the Chrome browser. So then it would just ask you to download it again. So skip that step and just download it now. But when you click download, almost certainly the computer you're using is going to download it automatically to the downloads folder. So if I click this button and say show in folder, you'll see it's in the downloads folder. We don't want it there because you're on a public machine, a public computer in a classroom, and if that computer breaks one day and you have to sit somewhere else, you're not going to have your files because they're only on the storage device, the hard drive of that particular computer. So we want to put it in the cloud. And so the way to do that, let me delete this one first because I don't want it there. Get rid of this. Is to go to your Chrome settings, click these three dots, go to settings, go to downloads. You can change the location so it'll automatically always download to a certain folder. Let's say your Drive folder in your Google Desktop app. I don't like doing that because maybe next time I don't want it to go there and then it's going to the wrong spot. So I'd rather do this. Slide this slider over. It says, hey, every time you go to download something, ask me first. Let me tell you where to put it. So that's good. So now click download again. You'll get this dialog box. It says, where do you want to put it? I just did this before, so it didn't go there. But by default, it'll probably, for you guys, go to downloads. Don't leave it there. Switch it to your drive, which you've made sure you've had your Google Drive desktop app properly signed in and working. So therefore, all you have to do is navigate to your name. Click on that. Usually your drive gets the letter G. I can't move this over. There it is. Usually gets the letter G for Google. Sometimes that letter is already taken by your Windows machine. It'll give it some other letter. In my case, I have two accounts, so I got G and then I got J. So I'm choosing my fictitious student. You obviously should only have one. If it's not there, then something's wrong with the desktop app. We got to get that fixed. So make sure your name is there. If it just says Google Drive, that's because you only have one account, so it doesn't have to distinguish between the two. So click that, then double click My Drive. You should have already made this folder. If you didn't, then make a folder. There's a new folder button right here. You click that, give it a name, PSRS, our course. Double click the folder. Here's the name I gave you, so then you just click Save. So now if you go Show in Folder, it's not going to the Downloads folder anymore. It's going to My Drive, PSRS. There's that J letter that I was talking about. So that's how Windows likes to work. It assigns drives a letter. So it assigned J, so it's J:\my drive. Instead of saying Google Drive, it just says J. And here's the file I want you to work with, so you double click that. And it opens in Photoshop. So now, here's the Photoshop interface. There's a bunch of tools on the left. Depending on what tool is selected, this option bar on the and the tools also have a little triangle on the bottom right, which means it's a tool slot. Not all of them. This one doesn't. The frame tool, I don't know why, it just doesn't. Is that like the only one? The zoom tool doesn't have it either. Okay, but most of these have a little triangle, which means you can click, hold down, and if you're holding down the mouse, whatever one you let go of when you're hovering over, that's the one it changes to. Let me do that again. Content aware move tool, so you see the little icon changes. Go back to the spot healing brush. Click on the lasso tool, and if you're noticing up here the options bar, it's changing every time I click on a tool. So the options of each tool have different settings, obviously. The brush tool, it's all about, painting and smoothing and whatever. Well, the lasso tool is about selecting, so that's going to be different. Okay, go back to the move tool, and your cursor just looks like an arrow again. Over here we have some panels. The layers panel we use a lot. Swatches for like colors and stuff, and gradients. If you were doing something with a pattern, and after you used it, well, you say I use it a lot, let me drag it over. You can do that. You can change this interface any way you want. Currently we're using the Essentials workspace. So your machine should be set on that. If anything looks different, check that. Maybe it isn't. The other thing that could happen too is you could turn off one of these panels. You could turn off more than one panel. Now yours looks different than mine, let's say, and you don't know why. They're called panels, but you put them back on by windows. But what if you don't even remember the name of that window that you turned off, but you know you need it? And you're like, I don't know the name of it. Just go over here to the workspaces, make sure it's on Essentials, and then click Reset. And it basically says, put it back to the way it was when we first started Photoshop, which is the way I always use it, so that I don't have to tell students, make all these changes because I like the interface this way. So I'm always using the standard Essentials workspace. So if it doesn't look like mine, just make sure it's on Essentials and then reset it, and it should. And the only thing that could be different is I could be on this tool and your interface is on that tool, and that could make it different. Maybe your colors are still set, cancel this, on the default black and white. Okay, and I've already changed it to red for some reason. But other than that, it should look the same. So now, what are we going to do with this photo? Well, I have two layers. The layer on top always covers the layer on the bottom. But you can turn off the layer on top. And see, the layer on the bottom is the same photo. So somebody with a camera took two quick shots. One shot, you got the mom smiling, but the kids aren't looking at the camera. And the next shot, the person got the kids looking pretty much at the camera, but the mom's now, she's got a very serious face. She's not smiling. So you say, gee, I wish I had the mom smiling in this photo. Well, with Photoshop, we can do that. So what we want to do is we want to take away the mom's face here and let that face show through. Now, I can start doing it on these two layers, but I kind of like not messing up with the ones that are the originals. So I'm going to copy each one. So I'm going to click on source 2. Notice when you click on it, there's a difference between clicking the eyeball to turn it on and off, because you can have both of them deselected. Click on this one to select, to turn on, I shouldn't say select, to turn it on, but it's not selected until you click here. Now it's selected. So you can actually turn on this eyeball and do some work in Photoshop, think you're doing it on this layer, you're really doing it on that layer. It's actually the most common mistake in Photoshop. You're not on the layer you think you are when you're doing whatever you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to click on this source 2, press Control J on my keyboard. It's a shortcut. Makes a copy of it. And then I'm going to click on source 1, Control J, and make a copy of that. I'm going to drag source 2 underneath copy 1. So here's my two original ones I'm not going to mess with. So I'm actually going to turn off the eyeballs there. And I can, even if I really want to get fancy while it's selected, click the lock button, and then it locks it so I can't mess it up. Okay, so now there's the good face we want, and here's the not so good face. So I can move the smile over and try and line it up with the other face, and then get rid of the one on the top layer and have this face show through. So that's what we're going to do. And the way I would do it is I would turn this on, select it, change the opacity some so I can see through it. I can see the mom underneath. And I'm going to click on this layer, and with my move tool, I'm going to move it so that the eyeballs kind of line up. Now, sometimes the mouse can be like a little jumpy. So if you get it close, and then with the arrow keys on your keyboard, you can move like 1 pixel at a time. Get really fine adjustment. So now you can see those eyeballs are really lined up good. So now you can say, well, but the kids are different, but that's okay, because we're not going to erase on the top layer where the kids are, because the top layer, if I put the opacity back, the top layer, the kids look good, right? So now I just want to erase this on the top layer. So if I go to my eraser tool, which there's a bunch of different erasers, I'm just going to use the regular eraser. Now up here there's some options. We have hardness, which is the way it blends with the bottom layer. Do you want to like burn through it exactly nice straight edge, or you want the edge kind of feathered and soft? That's what the hardness is. And then the size is, how big of a circle you have. That's probably too big for the picture, yeah. So if I make it too big, it's like the circle's bigger than the screen. Right? I can't even see the circle. Make it a little smaller. That jumped up really big. So that's way too big. But let me just click over here. So a better way to adjust the size is the the bracket keys next to the P. So the one on the left jumps it down, the one on the right jumps it up. Use that a lot, so I don't really kind of go up here. Hardness has a shortcut too. I don't remember it because I don't really usually adjust that too much. I either leave it all the way up or all the way down. Let's leave it all the way up and see what happens. So now I'm on source 2, and if I just click and hold down and drag through here, there you go. I'm erasing the top layer. So if I turn off layer 2, you'll see that's what I just did. But with layer 2 on, that's what shows through. Now that obviously doesn't look so good, so I got to burn through some more. I'm holding the mouse down and just dragging around. I mean that kind of looks good right there. I don't know that I have to even do anything else. To me, that looks fine. If you click this drop down, and make it softer. Well, I should have undid that first. Let me undo with Control Z. It actually undoes every step, so turning a layer on and off is part of the undo history. And I'm undoing, okay. Now let's go to the soft brush, soft as it can be. And now, see how it like doesn't just chop it out? It kind of blends it a little. See how it's like feathered on the edges? Sometimes that's a better effect. So you gotta kind of rub it back and forth as you're blending. And again, that might even be better. So I think either way it worked, and it looks good, right? And so we got the mom's smile with the kid's smile. One thing I don't like is little babies, he's got some juice hanging off his chin. So we could get rid of that too. To zoom in, to do that, I like just hitting Control plus. And you zoom in. But now he's like off the screen, right? So that's a good shortcut. Control plus to zoom in, Control minus to zoom out. To move the picture up and to the right, hold the space bar, you get the little hand, and drag it up. And what's good about that is you didn't have to go to the zoom tool, because if you're already on a tool and you have all your settings set, you don't have to go back to it. I don't know, it's just a nice shortcut. Now I'm going to go to the Band-Aid tool, spot healing brush. And I'm going to shrink this circle down quite a bit. And up here it has this content aware setting. Content aware means if you drag across some of this juice, it's going to sample pixels around it and say fill it in with that, because it's basically figuring you want to get rid of something and it should look the way all the other pixels around it look. So I'm just going to drag over that a little bit, and you see how that works. Very nice. Now this is a little tricky because it's by the edge. It may pick up these darker pixels and kind of mess it up, but it may not. Let's see. That looks pretty good. And then it kind of feathered it a little bit with something else. It kind of lost some of the definition there. So let me try not to go too close. I mean, that doesn't look so bad. And you know what? My dad and I used to paint together, like, paint houses. And he used to yell at me sometimes because I'd be like up in the corner being real meticulous. And he'd be like, a guy in an airplane's never going to see that. Let's go. Let's get done. And it's true, because a guy in an airplane's never going to see this. So right now we're zoomed way, way in. When we zoom out, any of that little feathering that we didn't really want on the chin, you can't even see that anymore. Even if you could then, And so then here you have it. So now we want to save it. So we go to File, Save As, Save on your computer. Yeah, we're saving it in the cloud, but through the desktop, the Google Drive desktop app. So it's really thinking it's on the computer. So we say Save on our computer. Here's the original. You don't want to save it with the same name. You're going to go over it. So maybe just add, my combined photos and say Save. And I leave this on. I could say don't show me again because I'm always clicking OK, but the reason why I leave it on is because when I'm making a video for students, it'll pop up for me and I can say, hey, when this pops up, just say OK. Notice because we opened it from this folder, it wants to, when we do a save as, go right back to that folder, which is good. We want it to go back to that folder. So opening it from the right folder is good because it kind of facilitates or initializes a save to the proper folder. So now that we have that there, we can go back to our classroom. We can close this out. It's going to say, hey, I don't think I did everything you needed. Yeah, you did. Don't worry about it. I'm leaving. Go back to the assignment. Add that from your Google Drive because that's where it is. You could actually upload it from the desktop app. So really, at this point, these two things are kind of the same. Either way, it's coming from your cloud storage Google Drive. So if you click here, Google Drive, and it's recent, so you see it right there. But if you didn't, you could always just go My Drive, double click that folder you made, and then choose the one that says My, Combine Folders, Combine Photos, right? And say Add. Or, because we have the desktop app, if we said, oh no, it's a file on my computer, well, it's really not on our computer, but through the Google Drive desktop app, it thinks it is. So we would go, here's your Windows File Explorer. It's already there, but again, go to Drive, My Drive, double click that folder, and choose this. So either way, you could do it. One's kind of, I guess, an upload from the hard drive on your computer, so it's uploading into the internet. If you chose Google Drive, then and chose this and say add, it's really not uploading from a source, but I guess it's transferring through the cloud from one cloud source to another, sorta. Actually, no, it's still Google Drive, so it's just going into the classroom. So either way, it works, and then just turn it in, and then I can grade it. Pretty simple. Nice, simple, fun thing in Photoshop. A little intro and a little Photoshop work as well. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.